Hello, I hope you're doing well. So my favourite racing shoe this year has been the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 2. It's the shoe that I've done pretty much all my races in this year, everything from the 5k to the marathon distance, and all my personal bests have come whilst wearing these shoes. So I actually got my first pair of Pro 2s just over a year ago in the run up to the Chester Marathon in 2024. And the first run I did in these was actually a track tempo session just over a week before the actual race. And that initial run was, I suppose, how best to describe it would be, so that initial run, it really did feel like there was a real sort of bounce to these shoes. There was a real sort of sense of being propelled forward, which I really liked. And they worked. I used them for the Chester Marathon then, and they worked really well for that. And so I decided that this year I'd keep using them. And so I'll mention a couple of things that I really like about this shoe, and then after that, I'd like to mention a few sort of not necessarily drawbacks with this shoe, but a few caveats, maybe a few things to sort of keep in mind with this shoe. What I really like about this shoe is just the feel of it. There really is that sense of kind of propulsion. I find it really does. It is a lot of fun to run in. You do feel like you're kind of moving forward. There is with the carbon plate there. There is a real sort of spring as you move forward, which I do really like. So that the feel for me I really enjoy it. The second thing I'd like to mention is kind of the durability. This is the one that I got over a year ago, and I've probably put a few, easily a few, maybe 300 miles into this. And it's kind of holding up quite well. There is the only slight issue is on the toe there, which I think is more of a me issue, because on all of my shoes I get that sort of wear at the toe there. I think that's more to do with my running form than anything. But actually, other than that, the sole is kind of holding up well. The outsole is pretty good. There's a little bit of wear here and there, but it has retained its sort of propulsion. It has retained that bounce, that feel that I initially felt with it. So I think durability overall, I've been quite impressed with. I mean, they need a clean, but I've been quite impressed with how they've lasted. So, as much as I love this shoe, there are a few things to sort of be aware of, a few caveats, like I mentioned earlier, and it really is all around the design with these shoes. They are, a quite high stack shoe, particularly in the middle and in the midfoot. So, I think if you are like a heel striker, then with that cutout there, I think maybe not the best option. They really do suit if you are more sort of, maiden forefoot striking, just because of that design. I think perhaps that would be, a drawback for some people. So, secondly, with them being, a high stack shoe, I just find myself being quite cautious going around any sort of corners, any tight bends, any sharp corners. I always have to take it easy, a little bit easier. I'm not the best at taking corners as it is, but I think I just, with the way these are designed, and again with that high stack, it is just bear it in mind going around corners. And the last thing I'd like to mention in this section is that, as much as I've enjoyed racing in the 5k distance with this shoe, I think you get the most out of it during the longer races. I think half marathons and marathons are where this shoe is at its best, where you get the most out of this shoe, particularly on those longer race distances. It is fun to do at the 5k, but I think again you're going to get the most out of this for halves and full marathons. And I think the original Wave Rebellion Pro was designed, or was marketed as a marathon shoe. I think they said something like for a 2.5 hour marathon or something was the original thing around that. So I think it's probably, yeah, at its best during those longer distances, those longer races. So yeah, my favourite racing shoe this year is the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 2. I just need to remember to take it easy going around those sharp corners.